good evening, आदाब and सत श्री अकाल. Welcome to #CyberPeace podcast. मैं हूँ आपकी होस्ट एंड दोस्त शिमोनी फ्रॉम CyberPeace फाउंडेशन. आजकल मैं अपने किसी भी फ्रेंड को कॉल करती हूँ एंड व्हेन आई आस्क देम क्या चल रहा है, मोस्ट ऑफ देम रिप्लाई कुछ नहीं, फेसबुक, व्हाट्सएप, ट्विटर, टिकटॉक और नहीं तो टीवी, which means we all are spending most of our times on screen and with technology. On the other hand, our biggest worry is also screens and technology. How do we reduce our screen time? What do we do not to become addicted to technology? And not only us, how can we save our children too? Thank you all for sending your queries to us. We have your answers. I would like to wholeheartedly welcome Dr. Rajesh Sagar, Professor of Psychiatry at AIIMS Delhi, and Dr. Manoj Sharma, Department of Clinical Psychology, Shut Clinic, Nimhans, Bangalore, who have taken out time from their busy schedules to help us and enlighten us with their knowledge. Welcome aboard, sir. The questions follow. So, let's get started. I spend over 12 hours on my laptop every day for work and other things. What can I do to minimize the ill effects of such a routine and continuous device usage?
This is an important question. What we have to understand in the modern day world that to use a laptop is very common, and we have to use for our own professional work and we cannot avoid it. And so how to minimize the ill effect, I think we can do few tips which are important. One is that one can download a software which can monitor the screen time, which you will know that how much you were able to use the screen time, so that can be done. And the important thing is that when we are engaged with this laptop or any computer, take a break after every 30 minutes. And what we can do some exercise, we can take a stroll or have some water, or and there are multiple things which can be done, like stretching your fingers, your arm, your moving your neck, and blinking your eyes, and so on. So all these things can be done, and ensure that you take a break after every 30 minutes. For a few minutes, take a break. And also see that if something can be done by reading, like you can take a printout of the material and read it. And sometimes we do that, like that instead of shifting everything to computer and laptop, we can take a printout and read it and then do the work. So that way we can avoid excessive use of laptop. Other thing is that we can organize our own task and gradually reduce the time amount of time spent. And we can take a weekly off, and if needed we can delegate others to do some of the work instead of doing by own self. And one of the other thing is that instead of sitting all the time, if we can do by standing. I have seen in some countries people they have made a adjustable table. So instead of sitting continuously, they do stand and do their work. I think what WHO also says, that sitting constantly is very harmful and more harmful than smoking. So we can do that. Other thing is that we can organize in a bit that we can do a complex task in the morning time, because our mind is fresh. We can do some less important task in the afternoon when we feel sleepy, and so on. So this reorganization can be there. And we need to ensure that we take a proper sleep, which is a refreshing sleep. We also need to spend leisure time, relaxing time with family, friends, and so on. So I think by doing this, we can minimize the ill effects of the routine and continuous device like laptop and computer. Thank you.
Our next question is, what should the parents do to keep the children away from technology during this lockdown period?
This is an important question asked by Annie, that there are a number of things parents can do to keep the children away from technology, like using mobile and other games during this lockdown period. I think one of the important aspect is that we cannot completely avoid it, because children are in lockdown period, so they cannot go out, and they cannot physically meet their friends. So some way to keep them occupied, they will use the technology. But at the same time, there are certain things which can be done, like engage children in indoor activities, worksheet games, and there are many interactive games are there, and one can reward them, and by winning, so a family can be involved to engage the children. The other important thing is that the children can be engaged by the parent in planning household chores. I think in the planning phase they can be involved with, and these children can be involved with the management of household chores like gardening, cooking, cleaning, etc. There are a number of things which can be done, and which parents or any family members can do. Parents can spend time to talk to them. The important thing is that tell something as a parent about yourself which they do not know till now, because this free time has not happened for many years. So make best use of these times. One can share some secrets also with them. They would love it in this fun loving environment. So create the environment which is fun loving, and spend time, tell secret, tell about something which they do not know. So they would really enjoy that, and maybe make a schedule for them for online classes. There are certain activities which are going around, so which can be done. Important thing is make them feel important, that they are uh, part of the family, and you need to share with them, make them feel important in this moment of lockdown. So they would love to interact with you, and ask them for the help, because most of the time we do not ask them for the routine task. And one thing which I can tell you, kids are happy to help, and the only thing is that we do not have the opportunity to ask for their help. They would love to help the family and doing these activities. So these are a few things. Other that could be that their hobbies, interest, painting, drawing, so many things which can be done, and the parents can ensure these things in this period of lockdown.
Our
Thank you.
next question is, sir, please suggest a solution for phone addicted people who, though are free during COVID 19 lockdown, prefer sticking glued to phones rather than spending time with family.
Not only Mrityunjay, but there are many who are glued to mobile phones rather than spending time with the family. Now, what we know that this is a time where you are at home, you are not going out. So because we need to understand that using mobile phone increases during this period of isolation, because there is no other activity around us to do. So but there are few things which can be done. It does not mean that people who are using phone excessively are the one with the addiction disorder. It's only situational. One could imagine that what family needs to do is that make other activities more meaningful, more attractive, more pleasurable. Then it's possible that the one who is involved with the phone will give away that and get involved with other activities. We have to make it more attractive, other activities, because using phone at time may be secondary, because there is nothing else to do. That is why uh, one is using mobile phones in a much more excessive way. So there are something known as what we call as a detoxification, which can be done, like in the sense that there could be a certain time period where phone cannot be allowed. One can see that in a day, a particular time slot one can have, where no use of phone, one can, in a family can practice that. And two, there is something known as what is called as a phone stacking, like during dinner time, lunch time, everyone can stack their phone at one place and make a rule that not to use a phone during that time. That can be done. Or even in a day, make your own goal and target, that this is the time where I will be restricting my use, having more control, which is more important. This is the time I will not use my phone. Switch off. Well, maybe you can mute your some of the social media apps, or switch off the notification of the social media app. So maybe one can spend time in reading, interacting with the family, or discussing with them. Maybe the important other thing is making a phone call to friends, instead of using a social media of WhatsApp, or or Facebook. So many things one has to see that how other things, alternatives, can be made more attractive. So by doing this, the use of mobile phone will be, hopefully will be restricted, maybe reduced. And also one need to ensure that sometime mobile phone is used when the other family members are also using, because one need to make sure that when others are not using it, so then only one can physically talk to them, interact with them. And make a rule, maybe that this slot, this time period, no one in the family will use a mobile phone. So maybe these small tips, which and one who is not using the excessive use may be rewarded in some way, maybe praised. So this way, I think uh, the usage can be reduced. But at the end, I think we need to understand that this is a difficult period. This is a situation where in lockdown everyone is confined to their home, because we are not allowed to go out. So this is a different situation. It does not mean that these people who are using excessively are having any kind of disorder. So and just ensure that other activities are more attractive. So hopefully the usage will reduce in this critical period. Thank you.
Our next question is: working from home during lockdown has led to some serious side effects like increase in body weight and body aches. How to deal with this?
This is true that working from home during this lockdown period has led to some serious side effect, like increase in weight and body aches and so on. So yes, because anyway, when you are at home, you are there is inactivity. You cannot go out, so some level of physical activity which is ought to happen is not happening, because and the other thing is, at home you are bound to eat much more, because you have free time, and you tend to eat a lot, uh, and on top of it your activity is also not there. So and s- it is being seen that BMI, body mass index, is related to how much your screen time is there, like how much screen exposure time what you have. And so there is a link there, because the more the screen time, the more chances of obesity and weight gain is there. And either it is through mobile phone or laptop or even television also, because there is a link with that. Because so what one can do is, basically uh, we have to see certain measures which can be taken up. That one is that how we can be more active at home, because within home also one can be involved with some physical activity, like doing some exercises in your home premises itself, and doing household work also, and can also help you to get away from this inactivity. maybe something like cooking, something gardening, or some activity one can do, which can be very very helpful. And it is also being seen that most of the time we tend to sit and work, and if you can stand and work and use your laptop, computer, you can adjust your table. And in some western countries, the offices are made, the decks are adjustable, so you people, they do stand and work. So the idea is that not to sit at one place for long hours. So that can be done. And one is that how we one can do more activity, reduce the screen time in the activity what you are doing. And also reduce the diets and meal what you're taking, have a control over that. That also will be important. So these would be important to control your weight. And body aches again are related to the body posture, excessive screen time, and you being in the same posture. So one need to take a break every 30 minutes. You can blink your eyes, move your neck, and move your you can make take a stroll around. So these things can be done to after every 30 minutes to have a break time. The other thing is one can do is to restrict this screen time. Detoxification measure can be taken. Have a room zone in your house where it's a mobile free zone. Maybe in some activities while taking lunch, dinner, the use of mobile can be restricted. And even in some particular time of the day, that can be restricted, the use of mobile phone. And definitely before sleep it should not be used, and one need to ensure, because it does have an effect on sleep. Because excessive screen time and lack of sleep is linked with the body weight gain of body. So we need to ensure that we have a proper sleep. So that is also very important, and there is evidence to suggest more screen time, more than 2 hours in a day, and lack of sleep of let's say 6 hours and less is linked with the higher BMI body mass index. So there is evidence to suggest. So definitely we need to have proper sleep, and maybe we need to have more active life at home itself during this lockdown. And so some of these problems can be taken care of. Thank you.
Our next query is how to set limits with children since they are glued to mobile phone and laptops throughout the day during the lockdown period.
Some children do have a difficulty in setting the limits, as they are involved with the excessive use of mobile phone and laptop throughout the day, especially during this lockdown period. And we know that in this lockdown period you are not supposed to go out, so you have to be confined at home. So but there are certain things which a parent can do to take care of these children. And what we have to understand that children are usually involved with mobile phone and laptop when they have nothing else attractive or pleasurable to do. So one of the thing important would be by the parents or any elders in the family is to ensure that something which is more attractive and pleasurable, so that children can be meaningfully engaged with these activities. So if that is done, I think children can restrict the use of phone, because and we need to ensure that. The other thing is that parents need to be a good role model. And often it is being seen that parents themselves are involved with excessive mobile use. Then they are not being a good role model, because and children, they do observe their parents. So one need to ensure that as a parent how you can be a good role model. Then one has to see that there are certain things which can be done, tips like ensure that setting a limit which can be discussed with children, that okay, in a day is this much time you will be using, and set a target. And there are certain apps which are there which can tell you that how much screen time you have used in a day. And maybe children who are able to set the target of screen time, maybe they can be rewarded in some way. So that can also help these children to set the limit for this usage. And maybe certain methods of detoxification can be used, that there are certain in a room, like say for example bedroom, there should be restriction of use of mobile phone or laptop. And even some of the activities in a daytime, one can ensure that this is the time you will not be using it. So make a rule very clear, and during that time encourage for this time encourage for some other physical activity or some other activity, or some hobbies or some interest. And talking to people, listening to stories, or making paintings, drawings, or music, or whatever the child who is interested in. So I think these, if one can follow these rules, and so it's possible that children can cut down on the usage of mobile phone and laptop, especially during this difficult period of lockdown. Thank you.
Our next question is: one of my friends is addicted to an online game. She eagerly waits for the lives to refill in the game. If at all we say something to her, she says it's her way of releasing stress. What should we do? Without playing this game, she doesn't sleep too.
There is an important relationship between excessive use of technology and number of health related problems, and there is enough evidence for that. Like one can have neck and back problems, sleep problems, problem with appetite, neck pain, shoulder pain, wrist pain, finger pain, and so on, because you are constantly involved with the physical activity. Lot of strain can be there, constant headache, vision difficulty. And so there are a number of physical problems are reported. And there are hazards of being in that posture for a long period of time. And that is why it is advised that one should have a proper break. And not only there are physical effects, but there are psychological effects too, like irritability, anger, anxiety. So one needs to be aware of it, of this continuous use of technology. So if at all one is going through this problem, so frequent breaks are needed. And if there are problems, then of course the appropriate advice also need to be taken at appropriate time. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for our podcast. Stay tuned for our next event. And don't forget to follow CyberPeace Foundation on our social media channels. Have a nice evening.